This video will show you how to rearm a Mustang Survivable Inflatable using the hydrostatic inflation technology. Whether your device inflated automatically or you inflated it manually, it's the same steps for rearm. The Hammar uses a hydrostatic inflator to activate instead of the dissolvable bobbin. And you can tell you've got a ready-to-use product because the indicator is green on the cap of the inflator itself. It's what's called a single-point indicator. There's only one place that you need to look to make sure it's green, and that is this indicator here. So after the product's been inflated, take the product off. Lie it on a flat, clean surface so you don't damage it. And the first step is to take the air out. We do that through the oral tube. Every oral tube comes with a dust cap. The dust cap's designed with a nubbin on the end that fits into the tube and opens the valve. Don't use anything but the dust cap. Keys, pens, fingers, they're all at risk of damaging the product. On a hydrostatic inflatable, you don't need to get rid of all of the air right now. We're just trying to make the inflatable soft enough to be able to move it around and open or gain access to the inflator system. So I'm leaning gently on the lobes. There's no way to rush this. This takes time. But I've got it softened. There's still air in it, but we will take care of that later. Next step, flip it over. So we have the head pillow, the two lobes. Side that has the inflator, you're going to reach your hand in, grab the inflator, pull it out so you have access. So I grabbed the inflator and pulled it inside out. This has opened up everything we need to do a rearm. Now we can take a look at which rearm kit we need. We need a Hammar 33 gram. And the rearm kit that I have here. The other check is to check that the model number that is on your product. For this Canadian product, the model number shows on the label. 3154. And we want to make sure the model number is on our rearm kit. 3154. We have the correct rearm kit. We need this tool to remove the CO2 and the Hammar inflator mechanism. So taking the blister pack out of the box, pop the key. And this key fits into the corner of your inflation mechanism. We turn the black ring. The yellow inflator doesn't move. The black ring loosens and you pull it off. We know this one was a spent inflator because we pulled it just minutes ago, but anytime you see a red indicator on an inflator cap, it means it's time to replace it. The other check, all inflators have an expiry date. It's the end of the year listed. If either you have a red indicator or you have an expiry date that's passed, you need to replace your inflator. For now, we'll take our expired inflator cap, throw it to the side, hang on to the key. And we're going to go inside the bladder now. You can see what's called the sealing ring, this white urethane ring. We've pulled the equivalent of the cylinder and body that is inside the product into the bladder, tilted it slightly so that we could get it out, and out it comes. You can see this one is green because it's brand new, and this one is in a different position in red. It's good to note an expired CO2 cylinder and a good cap will not fit together. And a good CO2 cylinder and an expired cap will not fit together. Only two green indicators will fit together on the product. we can dispose of the old inflation system and cylinder. Installation is the reverse of removal. There's a screen print on the bladder that specifically shows a 90-degree angle between the cylinder and the Hammar inflator. This is what we're going to do with the cylinder inside the bladder and the inflator on the outside. Put the cylinder back in through the sealing ring. I hold it through the bladder fabric. It's very careful not to break any of these black tabs. They're fairly sturdy, but you don't want to accidentally break one. That's how we hold the cap onto the inflator body. Put the entire CO2 cylinder and body inside the bladder. It's just easier. And then we realign with the screen. Be careful not to try to rotate this part. If you rotate this, you'll lose your indicator and it will not mate with the cap. So don't ever grab by pinching on this. Always try to hold by the outside or the CO2 cylinder. You can see that my cylinder is in this direction, but my screen is a few degrees this way. So now is the time to align the cylinder and the screen. And once you're aligned, pinch the cylinder through the fabric to hold it in place. Take the sealing or the inflator cap, place it on top with the inlet valve 90 degrees to the cylinder, and it just sits on top. You want to be careful that you haven't pinched the sealing ring anywhere around. And then on the black ring, there's a landing that's perfect for a thumb. Hook your finger over the inlet valve for the cap, close it. You will hear and feel an audible click. That click should be easy to get to. I didn't strain my finger. It wasn't hard to close it. If it is at all hard or difficult, stop. Take your cap off, make sure your sealing ring is in place, and try again. But we now have rearmed. You can see, well, I can feel it. I don't know if you can see it, but you can trace the cylinder 90 degrees to the inlet valve. This is ready to be packed. You have a green indicator. We're good. Repeating what I did before, going to grab the inflation mechanism. Make sure I grab the jerk tab as well so we don't accidentally inflate while we're putting it back. And we're going to go back down into the lobe. And we'll reach our hand in as well and push the tab through the bottom. Make sure you can see the tab. Now we have to get the rest of the air out of the bladder before we repack it, but that is our next step. We're ready to repack. Back to the dust cap, upside down. Close off as much of the bladder as you can. Squeeze all of the air out. Lean on it again. Now, one thing that can be helpful is to close one side of the bladder. It acts sort of like a third hand to help rearm. The zippers are self-healing coil zippers. You run them backwards on themselves up to the stops. All stops are on the oral tube side of the product. Where these tabs are, we have two plastic stops, one for this zipper and one for this zipper. Run the zipper all the way back to the stop, and now it will start to close. Don't worry about folding correctly at this point. we're just getting air out of the system, and we'll come back and do this again. We'll use the zipper to help us compress the bladder so we can get all the air out of it. Break open the side just a little bit to gain access to the oral tube. Push down with the dust cap again, and we'll take the rest of the air out of the other lobe. Dust cap back on, and we are ready to pack. Packing instructions are included in the owner's manual. However, it's not very sensitive. Fold each lobe in thirds like an envelope. We have to reverse the zippers again. All the way back to the stops. This lobe is folded into thirds. The zipper is reversed as well. To the stop. When I get to the head pillow, got the lobes in, fold in. Make sure your whistle isn't on top. So your whistle inside is sitting roughly here. Your CO2 cylinder goes to about here. Zip it up. The last step, make sure we have access to the pull tab. Tuck the zipper inside. We have a green indicator. This product is armed and ready for use.